welcome to the Paceroos Podcast, the only Aussie NBA podcast with a bias towards our beloved Indiana Pacers. My name's Adam and I'm your co-host. Today I'm joined by Alex.
What's going on, man? Good to be here. Good to get the show rolling.
Very exciting. And Justin.
Hey guys, yeah, very happy to be here. It's very rare to get three Pacer fans in Melbourne, Australia, but yeah, what a crew.
Sitting around a large mahogany table in the middle of the CBD where we seem like we're a lot richer than we actually are. Today, guys, we'll be covering the Boomers versus USA, particularly Myles Turner's performance and the shock victory by the Aussies last night, which we're all pretty excited about. We'll also touch on the rest of the World Cup, particularly Domas Sabonis and his role in Lithuania's campaign. The World Cup predictions, we'll go through those as well. And to wrap up, we'll have a throwback moment of the week. So we'll kick off with the Boomers versus USA. Obviously, two games played in Melbourne, one on Thursday, one last night on Saturday. Team USA prevailed in Game 1. However, the Boomers had a shock 4-point victory yesterday in Game 2. Alex, how did you see Myles Turner's performance?
Yeah, in Game 1, he absolutely killed it. 15 points, 14 rebounds in about 18 minutes. I think I had that, just over maybe. But I think what impressed me the most was definitely his rebounding. Just absolutely killed it. Was killing Baines in the paint as well. When Bogut came on, he was doing the same. Game 2, he definitely struggled though. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays against Canada coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, me and Adam were talking before the show, and I think we all tweeted it as well about 5 to 10 minutes in the show that in the game that we've never seen Myles rebound like that. He had an aggression. He was athletic. Even John Casey, the commentator, mentioned how strong he was going on the boards. Myles usually, I think, struggles against big centres in the NBA rebounding. I know he struggled against Drummond and those type of players. To see the aggression he had getting rebounds was something I think we're all pleased and look forward to. Hopefully he can do for the Pacers this year.
Yeah, he was brilliant in Game 1. It was a really good atmosphere in the building. I was lucky enough to attend on Thursday, not lucky enough yesterday, but it struck me how well he was reading the ball. Struck me how well he was in rhythm with the guards particularly. He was setting a lot of screens. He was just able to read the play really well. So he's clearly, his basketball IQ has always been relatively high. It's just been his positioning and his rebounding ability that he's needed to work on. And if, his yoga, his strength training over the last couple of summers has caused him to be a better rebounder, then all the better for us, because that's the sort of center that we need, a starting center that we need. He's already an elite shot blocker. He can make a jump shot, but he needs a bit more confidence and a bit more aggression, and then, he can reach that all-star level. Game 2 was a bit of a different story, though. Alex, you got the stats there for Myles Turner in Game 2?
Yeah, he finished with 4 points, 1 rebound, and he had 2 blocks, and including one really good one. But yeah, he just really struggled to find himself, especially early on. He was getting dominated, so it was almost the polar opposite of how he was in Game 1. And he's a confidence-based player as well, I mean, we've seen him have ups and downs through the seasons with the Pacers, so hopefully he can bounce back, like I said, against Canada. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for game, yeah, like you said, Alex, polar opposites. I mean, Bogut Game 2 scored 16 points, 9 rebounds. Majority of those was on Myles. So, yeah, I'm still overly excited. I'm not upset about the 2-game series with Myles. I think Game 1 he showed a lot of promise. I mean, who would have thought? I know Popovich said he doesn't read plus minus, but Myles Turner ended up with the best plus minus on the team. I might be biased, but a lot of people I did see saying Myles Turner was the best player in Game 1. So, look, didn't have that carryover in Game 2, and I think, like you said, Alex, he's a confidence player. So, I think we all knew by about quarter time, half time, it just wasn't really his night.
Yeah,
I think he went to the footy Friday night too, which the commentators in the footy game that we watched seemed to refer to quite a lot. So maybe he just had a bit of a late night, and it was an earlier start. So he it may have taken his toll. A full week of press and activities in Melbourne. Maybe he just didn't get enough sleep that night. So we'll put it down to that and we'll give him a pass, hey? So obviously that brings us to the World Cup overall with Team USA. They're in a group with Turkey, the Czech Republic, and Japan. Overall, not that many NBA players on Japan or the Czech Republic. Turkey probably have the best side.
Japan do have Rui Hachimura.
The draftee for Washington.
Yeah, so that'll be good to see an NBA center there going up against him.
definitely. I think he can score in bunches. So
he's
overall,
been good for them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Turkey's probably got the most NBA talent across the board. They've got Ilyasova, Furkan Korkmaz, and Cedi Osman. So a couple of forwards and a guard that may test Team USA in spurts. I think Ilyasova can catch fire. Korkmaz can catch fire as well. So it could be like a Australia-Canada situation where if they catch fire, then they could hit a few shots from deep and make it a little bit uncomfortable for Team USA. But I can't really see them having too many issues in that group. I think Myles being in the box seat for starting centre alongside Brook Lopez, who didn't really play at all the two Boomers games. Maybe they were resting him. I haven't seen any press about that, but fingers crossed Myles can get to start and get some more reps against international, more physical level competition, because physical basketball is international basketball, really.
Yeah. I think coming from the US standpoint as well, I think this is the kick up the bum they kind of need. There's a lot of hate. I mean, you saw Myles' Instagram last night, the hate drinking. I mean, it's their first loss in 66 games as an exhibition. So, everyone's piling on the US right now. Look, they don't even have close to their best roster. We all know that. It was great Australia won, but with USA and the other grouping, I think, look, it'll probably motivate them. Guys like Donovan Mitchell, Kemba Walker, they're proud guys. I think they'll really hone in now, and I probably will see them going undefeated from here.
Another setback for them, though, because Kyle Kuzma shot the hell out of the ball in Game 1.
Yeah, he killed us in Game 1. Absolutely killed us, yeah.
And, he's now, relegated from the squad with an injury. But I really think you're right, it's the kick up the bum they needed. It's going to motivate them for the World Cup overall. And it meant so much more for Australia than it did for the US. For the US, it's just another exhibition game. For Australia, it's arguably the greatest moment in Australian basketball history.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And I think looking at the Australian group, we do have a bit of a Pacers flavour with that as well. We've got Canada in there, we've got Senegal, but important to this podcast, we've got Lithuania. So Domas is going to be coming up against the Aussies as well. So in terms of the Aussies, I think they can get past Canada, they can get past Senegal, but it will be a battle between them and Lithuania for that sort of quarterfinal, semi-final spot. So brings us to Domas. Like we were talking to you, Alex, before the podcast, and you mentioned that there was Jonas Valanciunas sat out.
Yeah, he wasn't playing in the games that I think he's played 2. Maybe I know he played one against Greece. Oh no, does anyone know who he played against? I think it was Russia. There you go, Russia.
Sabonis.
Yeah, and he absolutely dominated them. 25-13 he had, but that wasn't at the 4. That was at the 5. So I think it'll be interesting once JV does come back into that Lithuanian team, how Domas actually performs at the 4 and if he can keep those numbers up. Especially because he's going to be playing the 4 with Myles this year for the Pacers, so it'll be good to see.
Yeah, I watched highlights of that Lithuania-Russia game, and Sabonis, I think he got a triple-double, 25, 13, and 12.
He destroyed.
It was men against boys, really. Like, he was just posting up. He got to the foul line. Russia just couldn't stop him. It was, there's no better way to put it. It was literally men against boys. But I think he was meant to play, but he's got food poisoning now, I think. He's out of the next game. Domas is out. He's got food poisoning, so that's obviously not great, but no issues with seeing Sabonis play. It's just, classic Domas, post up, score, get to the line.
Yeah, I think the challenge for him will be integrating beside a big centre, because, in those Turner-Sabonis lineups, Turner's a bit more stretchy than Jonas is. Jonas is more of a down low, physical guy.
They're almost polar opposites, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and really they're the 2 best players on Lithuania. They've also got Mindaugas Kuzminskas, who used to play for New York many years ago, now plays in Eurobasket, I believe. But at the moment, you've got Jonas, you've got Domas. They're the keys to Lithuania's victory. So they're going to have to share the floor for the majority of every single game that they play, and only sort of rest one of them at a time. So I think the challenge will be, and we'll be able to see how Domas fits into that power forward role, because we know as Pacers fans that's going to be the role that he's asked to perform this season. He's going to be guarding a lot more stretch 4s. He's going to be guarding a lot more true 4s. So coming up against, a team like Turkey, for example, if they play them, he's going to be guarding an Ersin Ilyasova. How does he how does he navigate through guarding a stretchy four?
Yeah, well, he has had struggles in the past guarding the perimeter. So, I mean, if you want Myles to keep being the shot blocker that he is, Domas is going to have to, improve in that end of the floor. He's going to have to be able to guard these stretch fours and be able to contest without fouling as well. He's done that quite a bit. I know he struggled against Kevin Love in the Cavs series a couple of years ago, so I think he definitely has to improve on the defensive end.
Yeah, there's an improvement in lateral quickness that we need to see, and I think, in terms of what he can improve on, it's very difficult to become a shot blocker to the degree of Myles Turner, but I believe it's possible for him to be able to improve his athleticism and his timing well enough to be able to guard perimeter players and not be fooled by pump fakes and not be fooled by dribble moves from guys like, your Blake Gribbins, your Kevin Loves. The guys that he's going to be coming up against 4 times a season in that division. So I think the big question mark for us is Milwaukee in the division. How do we navigate through Brook Lopez and Giannis as a front line if we're playing Turner and Sabonis? Do we have to hide Sabonis on another player? And if so, who is that player? If there's a George Hill on the floor, then maybe. But I think the greatest question that we have as Pacers fans, I would say, is how are those two going to play together? How are they going to complement each other? And how is it going to get us wins?
Yeah, and I think last season, Nate McMillan had the liberty of going what was working on the night. You put Thad Young on the 4 or the 5. Sometimes he ran with Sabonis in the 4. Sometimes he just ran with Turner in the 4th. Now, if Sabonis is in foul trouble, you've got TJ Leaf coming off the bench, or Goga. We don't know what he's going to be like at the 5, but Nate McMillan doesn't have that liberty now if one of his guys isn't rolling to just stick a Thad Young on there.
And he was that ultimate glue guy as well, so I think that's the biggest loss, actually. I mean, Bogey was great, but you can replace his scoring production with a guy like Warren or Lamb, but losing a guy like that, especially on the defensive end, he was the guy we put on Giannis. He was the guy we put on Simmons for the most part, or the better guys.
LeBron.
Yeah, exactly, the big guys. Not having that this season is definitely going to hurt, so Domas and Myles, it'll be interesting to see which one of them, if they do, takes a Giannis or Simmons, or is it Lamb? I don't know. It'll be interesting.
It's the one weakness on our depth chart right now is forward overall. I mean, you've got Warren that's going to start at small forward, can pinch hit at power forward. You've got Domas going to start at power forward, can pinch hit at centre. Then you've got guys like Lamb and Holiday that could play spot minutes at small forward. But in power forward, I mean, you're really looking at Domas, you're looking at Warren against smaller lineups, and then you're looking at a guy like TJ Leaf that really, at this point, hasn't shown to the club, to the fans, that there's going to be a consistently good defensive performance out of him. I think he can get streaky, he can hit shots, but I think he's got a real challenge to not only contribute as a rotation sort of big man and guard power forwards, but also to earn himself a contract. He's in a contract year.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a make or break year for TJ. The thing is, I think Kevin Pritchard, if I was him, I wouldn't have done it any other way, though. I know losing Thad's so big, but we couldn't afford to lose Sabonis. Like, I would have been upset if we re-signed Thad Young and then we let Sabonis walk. I think we give it a go. Look, if it doesn't work out, I'm happy with Pritchard going, look, we tried our best. But you can't give up half the centrepiece around the Paul George trade without even trying.
It's a really good point, and it leads into the Domas extension that you and I, Justin, were talking about before. I mean, we're in a position now whereby we've got very little leverage while he's still a rookie on a rookie deal. He's a restricted free agent, could leave with a big offer in the summer of 2020. However, we can extend him. We're in the position whereby that extension is being negotiated. We've got no reason to believe it won't be done before the end of the season, but we need to do it if for no other reason that it provides us the leverage to be able to move him if things don't work out. He's still, 22, 23 years old. He's extremely talented. He's got a lot of fans around the league. He was, nominated for Sixth Man of the Year this past year. So ultimately, we've got a really talented guy on our hands with a lot of currency. Our preference is to keep him. However, if it doesn't work out, we know that we need to deal him before his currency completely erodes, because that piece could be the difference between us contending and getting down to that lower end of the playoffs.
this year's free agent, or this next summer's, I should say, free agent class is not great as well. So if we don't extend him during the season, he's going to have a lot of suitors, a lot of guys looking to sign him, and he will get 22 plus mil, I think. A team like Sacramento or something, a team that could use a big guy, even Toronto maybe. So I think Pritchard will extend him. There were reports, were there not, like recently?
Yeah.
I think both sides want to get a deal done, so I wouldn't be surprised if it happens before the All-Star break.
If Terry Rozier is getting 20 to 30 mil,
yeah.
I think Sabonis will too.
He should be getting the max if Rozier is getting 20 mil.
Yeah, definitely. And we were saying before as well, I would have loved to know draft night. There were reports of, Kevin Pritchard getting trade offers from nearly every team for Sabonis, and I would have just loved to be in a fly on the wall and known what those trade offers were. Like we mentioned, was it the 4th pick from Pelicans? What actually was it? But like I said, I'm more than happy Kevin Pritchard stuck to his guns and he's going to roll with this team. It's crazy to think about. We're actually soon going to start the season and we're only going to have one starter that we did playing last year. I know Victor is injured, which he'll come back. But yeah, from the starting lineup last year to this year, we have one starter. And for a team that preaches continuity and togetherness, it's going to be pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, we made our name the last few years on the chemistry that we had as a team, and it allowed us to overachieve and, make the playoffs, get into the top 4 when not a lot of people predicted it before the season. There was a lot of cohesion. There was a lot of strong chemistry in the team, but now the challenge is to build that. And we know that Myles and Domas and Vic all have strong chemistry together, and we also know that we got high character guys because, as we were talking about, the Pacers target high character guys, possibly above talent in a lot of situations. So, that's going to be the challenge, building that chemistry early on. I'm glad to see that we have a pretty soft draw in November and December leading into, a tough March. So by then you would hope that we'd have significant chemistry built within the team and we've ironed out any teething issues. But you're right, without our All-Star, it's a huge challenge to start the season. We've got an unproven front line, we've got new players in the starting lineup, and we've got an All-Star that's sitting on the bench for at least the first 2 months. So there'll be a massive challenge to get that done in training camp, but we can only hope that getting back to the World Cup, those two players being able to play against tough physical competition, because that's the big difference between NBA and international play is the physicality, I think, especially on the boards and especially the different rebounding rules that apply, that our two players learn how to play their positions a little bit so that they come to training camp really prepared for their roles.
Yeah, definitely. I think also not just Victor's injury as well is concerning, but Brogdon's had problems with injuries as well. So, your two guys in the backcourt, if they're both out at once, then maybe Holiday steps up, but I think that's something you've definitely got to worry about. And also going up against the Pistons, I think we go up against them like 4 times in like a month or something. Blake Griffin, how's Sabonis going to guard him? Griffin and Drummond's one of the best front courts in the NBA, so that's definitely going to be a test for them. But it'll be exciting to see them.
Getting back to your point on 2020 free agency, I feel like Pritchard's telegraphed the fact that we're not going to be players by locking up the free agents that we did sign and the moves that we did make to longer term deals. We effectively don't have any salary cap space for at least next season, if not the next 2 seasons.
Especially if you're extending Domas as well. So
exactly. So I feel like we've telegraphed very early on that this is the group that we want to carry us through at least the next 2 seasons. And Justin, you raised a really good point earlier about how that will look over the next couple of years.
Yeah, we were talking before the show. I think personally, we're building towards the best team since the Pacers Heat series when we took them to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. We had Hill, West, Hibbert, Paul George. Now we're building that again. Kevin Pritchard's done an amazing job of turning over the age on the roster. We lose Bogey, we lose Thad Young, Collison, Joseph, which they're all good players, but we've just turned our demographic over where now we've rebuilt a young, exciting team. Brogdon, Sabonis, Turner, Lamb. We hopefully get Oladipo back healthy. And I think this year, we were talking before, it's a bit of a reset year for me. How's Victor going to come back? Is he going to be the superstar from the get-go? I personally don't think so. I think he might take a few months to, get in shape and get his legs underneath him. But I think going into, the year after that, when we've got continuity, chemistry, I think that's the year we can really make some noise in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I agree. I think this year will be a bit of a transitionary year. It'll be building chemistry. It will be, trying to make sure that we can keep up with the other contenders in the Eastern Conference. I think there's a bit of a danger there, having our best year be the following year, just because, you've got Kevin Durant coming back from injury in 2020, 2021. So the Brooklyn Nets will be incredibly dangerous. The Boston Celtics will continue to be dangerous. Philadelphia will continue to be dangerous. Toronto may have reset. Milwaukee will always be there. So I think, this year there's a chance for a random team in the East to kind of pluck 100%. Their way to the NBA Finals, just like Toronto did this year. So I would hope that if Vic can come back early enough, we can make a really good run. But you're right, I think the better year will likely be 2020, 2021.
His injury was obviously terrible, but I honestly believe if Depot didn't get injured last season, I would be saying Pacers probably 2 seed and NBA Finals this year. So that injury set us back heaps, I think. But on your note about Kevin Durant, Pacers can't avoid these guys. We've run against LeBron, seems like a decade. MJ before that as well. So, but I honestly, KD has his injuries problems. Kyrie has, chemistry issues. So, I think that's a team that we can beat. And looking forward to the future for this team. Nice.
All right, guys. We'll get some World Cup predictions out there. Can anyone dethrone Team USA?
I think Greece and Serbia are people are sleeping on them because Greece, they got Giannis. He's been absolutely destroying, Euro-stepping from the bloody 3-point line, it seems like. And Serbia have Nikola, don't they? Jokic? Yeah, exactly. So they're the 2 best players in the World Cup and neither of them on Team USA. And Spain as well, and Australia. I think they're the 4 teams that will challenge USA. But, they're going to be hard to beat, so...
Yeah, I'd follow your sentiments there. I'd say Greece as well being the main one. Like, Giannis can beat a whole team by himself. So I still think USA will win. Hate to be boring, but I just think, like I mentioned earlier, I think that's going to be a real kick up the bum. We know what Greg Popovich is like. He's not going to want to be, the first coach to lose the World Cup for the USA. So, I think USA, they've got to get used to each other. As Popovich mentioned after the Game 2 loss to Australia, that this Australia team's been together for years. Paddy Mills, Bogut, Engels, they've played together for a fair while, where the USA team have just been plucked, thrown on a court, and, said, hey, go win.
Yeah, agree. I think there's a real chance that the Boomers can get to the gold medal game. I think we've seen that by their performance yesterday in beating Team USA. But they're going to have to get past a Giannis. They're going to have to get past a Jokic. I think they're built to get past a Jokic with the big men that they have. I think Baines and Bogut are really good defenders. A Giannis may be a little bit more difficult because they don't tend to have that forward-level defender like that. That puts a lot of pressure on a guy like Nick Kay, to get something done, or Jock Langdale to be able to defend Giannis when he's on the floor. I don't think Joe Ingles at this stage in his career can stop him for an entire game, maybe for spot minutes, but we need Joe in our offense, and we need him, at the highest level of durability, I guess. So I think, Team USA are obviously in the box seat, but I'm bullish on the Boomers' chances, especially after yesterday. I think the entire country will be. So I think that's probably going to be all she wrote for Team USA. They're probably not going to lose another game from here on in. All right, so World Cup predictions out of the way. We'll get to a throwback moment of the week. Does anyone have a throwback moment that they'd like to talk about?
I actually wrote one down earlier. It was the Rodney Stuckey fake pass. I don't know if you guys remember this. It was against the Raptors.
Oh, was that game?
Oh, really? Yeah. There you go. It was at Game 6, I believe. Fake pass, Corey Joseph, funnily enough. and then threw the dime to Myles for the left-handed and one. I think that's one of my favourite moments of all time. I mean, you were there, so you know the crowd was just that's the most hype I've seen him.
Yeah, that was a great moment. I think that with that Amph Harris guy, the famous Pacers fan or whatever his name is.
Oh yeah.
He was courtside, going nuts. So that was one of the loudest kind of moments I've heard in the field house. That was wild.
Yeah,
it's an incredible building, isn't it? I mean, obviously we're Aussies. Like, you've been to the field house. I've been. I think you've been as well. The atmosphere is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's underrated as well, because I think people put the Pacers down to a small market team, but Turner's Block used to be known as the G2 zone. They're incredible. They always bring it. The drummers, the fans overall are really strong at every game that I've been to. So I can't wait to get back there at some point. Good throwback moment. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for listening into the Paceroos podcast, and we'll see you again next time.